Alright, coming in at number 10 we have the Mystery Light. In 1492, Christopher Columbus was on board the Santa Maria with his crew on his first voyage to the New World. He sailed through the area we now know as the Bermuda Triangle and reported seeing fire on the horizon, despite there being no discernible land. He wrote in his diary describing the flame as a small wax candle that rose and lifted up. On investigation, they couldn't get to the bottom of what it was. In modern times, people attribute the light to Columbus witnessing a meteor crash. Others, not so convinced. Coming in at number 9, Bruce Gernon and the Time Warp. A lot of the Bermuda Triangle encounters happened a long time ago, or there simply aren't any key eyewitnesses to discuss their experiences. Bruce Gernon is very much alive and kicking, and he had a very strange experience flying over the Bermuda Triangle on his way to Palm Beach in the 1970s. At the time he was an experienced personal pilot and a grown-up flying with his dad. Shortly after taking off from Andros in the Bahamas, Gernon came across a storm, so he tried to fly around it. He found a strange tunnel in the clouds and decided he's gonna fly through it. Here's what he had to say about it.
The airplane penetrated into the tunnel. These strange lines formed.
Right. Okay, so that's what he had to say. In the tunnel he said he had a feeling as if he was slipping through time and space. He said that when he got out of the cloud tunnel after 20 seconds, the Miami air controllers had been worried as his plane had totally disappeared off their radars. He described an electromagnetic yellow-greyish fog surrounding the plane and messing with his instruments. When he emerged from the fog, he thought that he was going to be over Bimini, but air control told him that actually he was flying directly over Miami Beach. What should have taken him around 80 minutes of flight time had only taken 34 minutes. He was baffled. He seems to have travelled 100 miles in just 3 minutes. So this is roughly 1,918 miles per hour when his plane was only capable of travelling at 200 miles per hour. Weird. Famous pilot Charles Lindbergh also reported something very similar in the area. Weird. Coming in at number 8 we have the Ellen Austin encounter. In 1880 the Ellen Austin came across an unidentified schooner ship drifting in the Bermuda Triangle's Sargasso Sea. Now it was sailing a very weird erratic path, and Captain Baker of the Ellen Austin decided to trail the ship for 2 days just to check it wasn't a trap. After 48 hours the Ellen Austin came close to the boat and received no return signal. Captain Baker decided to send 4 of his men on board to investigate the ship. Weapons drawn, they got no response. On investigation, they saw no signs of life, but also no signs of struggle. The only thing that seemed awry was that the entire crew were missing, and curiously, as was the ship's logbook. Finding a perfect stash of mahogany on board, the captain formed a prize crew of his most trusted men and ordered that they sailed the ship to New York. Days later, the Ellen Austin came across the very same vessel again. Now they sent out signals, and once again it was met with no response. Again, the ship seemed to be drifting aimlessly. Captain Baker sent more men over, who found their prize crew totally absent, again without signs of a fray, and again the logbook was missing. Captain Baker's crew were freaked out, but he demanded that a small crew of new men once again try and steer the boat and its bounty to New York. It took hours of convincing, as many thought that the ship was cursed. However, he did manage to assemble a crew. Now, that was the last anyone ever saw of the schooner or the crew ever again. They simply disappeared. Coming into number 7 we have the missing USS Cyclops. After departing Barbados on the 4th of March 1918, the USS Cyclops went missing without a trace, with a crew of 309 people. The ship was carrying a whole load of manganese ore and was never seen again, leaving absolutely no trace. Now by this point, it's a very familiar story. The incident was the single greatest loss of life in the history of the US Navy, whilst not actively engaged in combat. Was the ship too heavy, or did the Bermuda Triangle pull it down to its murky depths? Coming into number 6, we have Carol A. Deering. Good old Carol was the name of a 5-masted schooner. She'd been afloat for 3 years when she was found run aground and abandoned on the 31st of January 1921, which is exactly 98 years ago on the day that I scripted this video, which is really spooky. The wreck was found in Cape Hatteras in North Carolina, but she was supposed to be sailing from Puerto Rico to Rio, right in the heart of the Bermuda Triangle. She was gonna cut straight through it. Now, no trace of the crew were ever found. Some people speculated mutiny, others say the ship may have been attacked by pirates, citing the Prohibition era of the incident. Sadly, we will never know. Coming into number 5, we have the 2017 Turkish airline incident. So this is actually very recent. In February 2017, Turkish Airlines flight TK183 encountered some strange problems as it flew over the Bermuda Triangle. It seems that the Airbus A330-200 was forced to change its direction from Havana, Cuba to Washington Duluth Airport. The pilot and crew reported mechanical and electrical problems. Now, electrical problems, after what we've already heard, to me, that's just pretty interesting. Coming into number 4, this is a little bit more tin hat, we have the Lost City of Atlantis. The legend of the Lost City of Atlantis claims that the city radiated a mysterious energy that caused navigational instruments to break down, which kind of sounds like what we know from the area. Is the Lost City of Atlantis under the Bermuda Triangle? The legend of Atlantis also talks about interesting rock formations on the ocean bed. Now, these are rather like some of those located on the ocean bed in the Bahamas. These are called Bimini Road. Some mystics believe that Atlantis lies at the very bottom of the murky depths, and the energy of the lost souls, the ghosts of the drowned citizens, are what are causing the disappearances and luring people to their watery deaths, leaving absolutely no trace to the outside world. Honestly, I'm not sold on this one. Coming into number 3, we have the alien wreckage. Discovery Channel host Daryl Miklos was filming a show whilst diving in the Caribbean using maps made by former NASA astronaut Gordon Cooper. Now, he was in search of old shipwrecks and magnetic anomalies. He was investigating what he thought might be an ancient shipwreck, but it turns out it was something else entirely. Miklos described it as a formation unlike anything he had ever seen, being far too big for a shipwreck, he also said. Now, he said something which I thought was really interesting. He said it was something that was completely different from anything that I've ever seen made by nature. This led him to speculate that actually it might be something entirely unearthly. Miklos also found another strange object and formation all around the big puzzling object, all of which are covered in thick coral, thought to date back hundreds upon hundreds of years. When Miklos studied Cooper's work, he found that the astronaut believed in aliens. Now, this led to the Discovery Channel host speculating that the mysterious wreckage could be a crashed alien spaceship. Because, you know, what else? Coming into number 2, we have the UFOs over the triangle. Can we explain the Bermuda Triangle with aliens? Maybe. It seems that there was a terrifying alien encounter on board the USS John F. Kennedy in the 1970s, but crew on board the ship were told by the captain to keep stum. It seems that the ship was set to return to Virginia after 2 weeks in the Caribbean, and was in the middle of the ocean when the crew on deck looked up to see a large glowing sphere around 200 to 300 feet in diameter. One eyewitness said it was yellow and orange in colour, and all of the radar screens on board the boat lit up. Naval officers tried to deploy 2 F-4 Phantoms to intercept the UFO, but they simply wouldn't start. Eventually, the UFO moved on days later, and as the ship was making its approach back to the USA, the captain warned the crew against speaking of the incident. This isn't the only time it's happened either. It seems Google Maps shows a UFO just outside of the triangle. Finally, coming into number 1, we have the disappearance of Flight 19. Now, this is the most famed legend surrounding the Bermuda Triangle and one of the hardest to explain. It all went down on December 5th, 1945, when 5 TBM Avenger bombers, grouped as Flight 19, were flying over the Bermuda Triangle. The flight never returned to Fort Lauderdale as planned, and the worst was feared, with the general theory being that something had gone wrong and the planes had run out of fuel. As there were 14 men lost, the Navy sent out a rescue mission to search for survivors, or at least to confirm the wreck. 13 crew were set off on the Martin PBM Mariner flying boat, but that flight never made it back either. Neither wrecks have ever been found, nor have any traces of the missing people. Now, the story made international news and helped perpetuate the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. Coming into number 10, we have air bombs. In 2016, a new theory surrounding the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle came to light. Hexagonal cloud formations were spotted over the Bermuda Triangle area, similarly to some noted over the North Sea in the UK, only much bigger. Super hexagons. Those studied off the coast of Britain had the ability to generate waves of over 45 feet and winds of 170 miles per hour. Dubbed air bombs, these in theory could be powerful enough to sink massive vessels, although whether or not they would be big enough to take down a plane is somewhat questionable. Meteorologist Dr. Randy Cavani called the hexagonal cloud formations bizarre. Others have put 2 and 2 together and got 763 and concluded that the hexagonal clouds are alien-made. Alien air bombs. Sure. Coming into number 9, we have the Asian Bermuda Triangle. Just when you thought the rest of the world was safe, it turns out there is a similar spot to the Bermuda Triangle in the Taiwan Strait. In June 2019, a fisherman was lost for 11 days adrift at sea as a fog descended upon his vessel. He ran out of phone battery and his fuel tank burned out, leaving him utterly stranded in a stretch of water that was the site of 85 disappearances in 2016. Luckily, 52-year-old Nian Shanghua survived by drinking his own urine and eating fish until he was finally able to flag down a passing cargo ship 2 weeks after he first got lost. Not only was the area making headlines in 2016, it had also been hailed a scary mystery in 2008 when multiple planes crashed nearby. Is the area a new Bermuda Triangle? Questions. Coming into number 8, we have the electromagnetic comet. Famously, Christopher Columbus claimed that his compass went crazy in the waters of the Bermuda Triangle between Florida and Puerto Rico. The 15th century explorer isn't the only person to complain or note weird seeming magnetic issues in the area. An electromagnetic fog has been the topic of much debate after pilot Bruce Gernon claimed that there were problems with his plane equipment when he flew over the area. So, what's the explanation? It seems that some people think that the strong magnetic energy in the area comes from a comet that crashed to Earth from out of space thousands of years ago. People believe that the alien rock contains a magnetic influence that even from the ocean bed has the ability to mess with boats and even aircraft. Of course, nobody has ever found any evidence of the comet or even an impact crater under the water in the area, so really this is just a story. Others claim the magnetic anomalies come from the triangle being in the meeting place of the magnetic north and the magnetic south. It's pole flips and stuff. I think I just like doing this sometimes in videos too. I need to do more of this. Scripted hands. Although, these are unscripted. Put them away. Okay. Coming into number 7, we have the disappearance of Jennifer Blumen. On May the 15th, 2017, a private plane carrying CEO of the Skylight Group, 40-year-old Jennifer Blumen, and her 2 young sons, Venus and Theodore, disappeared along with her boyfriend, pilot Nathan Ulrich. Air traffic control lost contact with the Mitsubishi MU-2B aircraft while it was heading from Florida from Puerto Rico. Sounds familiar? That's the area of the Bermuda Triangle. The plane was flying at 24,000 feet when it disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle for reasons unknown. Classic. The aircraft vanished from radio and radar control and never made a distress signal. We just don't know what happened. The bodies of the passengers have never been found, but debris believed to be part of the plane was located by the US Coast Guard 15 miles east of Eleutheria in the Bahamas. Another victim of the curse of the triangle? I think so. Hauntingly, Jennifer's last tweet was bye-bye. Coming into number 6, we have the pyramids. The story goes that an oceanographer by the name of Dr. Meyer Verlag found underwater pyramids beneath the Bermuda Triangle. The alleged researcher said that the pyramid is made of a smooth crystal-like substance 3 times the size of the pyramids of Cheops. The website before its news claimed to break the story, saying that Dr. Meyer Verlag had hosted a press conference in the Bahamas presenting a report that claimed to note the exact coordinates of the pyramid, and also noted that the tech used is unknown to modern science. So just curious, has anyone spotted an issue here, other than crystal pyramid in the sea? Anyone? What was that website again, before it was news? Fake news, you win again. There is no Dr. Verlag. Nonetheless, the pyramid story remains an enduring myth, with some claiming to have even seen the structures underwater for themselves. Coming into number 5, we have the lost souls. Author Dr. Kenneth McAll claimed to have heard a haunting sound while sailing the Bermuda waters. He detailed it in his book Healing the Haunted and suggested that the strange occurrences in the area could be caused by the lost souls of dead African slaves thrown overboard and killed on their journey to the New World. The Bermuda Triangle was used as part of this slave route from Africa, and many Africans did die on the journey. Does this mean that the waters are now cursed? Does this also explain the wailing heard by Dr. McCall? Are they the cries of lost souls? Coming into number 4, we have the pirates. Arr. One explanation for the mysterious disappearances surrounding the Bermuda Triangle is pirates, and I guess it makes sense. If it's good enough for the Pirates of the Caribbean, then it's good enough for me, although I will say the same sentiment does not apply when it comes to Johnny Depp. So, could the mysterious disappearances have had something to do with pirates? Like honestly, maybe it would make a lot of sense, right? More so than a magnetic comet from out of space. A 400-year-old pirate ship was found in Bermuda, and historical documentation places pirates in the waters in the mid-1700s too. Could pirates be capturing people on ships, robbing them and leaving the vessels ransacked? Or just stealing people away? In late July 2015, so very recently, two 14-year-old boys, Austin Stephanopoulos and Perry Cohen, went on a fishing trip on their 19-foot boat. It took the US Coast Guard a year and 15,000 miles of searching to find the boys' abandoned boat off the coast of Bermuda, but the two boys were never seen again. A lot of people think it has something to do with pirates. From pirates to monsters, coming into number 3, we have the Bermuda Beast. It wouldn't be an area of mystery if there wasn't a few monster stories attached to it, right? A number of people believe that the whole Bermuda Triangle issue could be the fault of a giant and hungry sea monster, rather like the Kraken. YouTube channel Unexplained Mysteries delved deeper into the alleged sea monster, the Bermuda Beast, that is said to be able to gobble up ships and planes. I'm kind of imagining it goes something like this. Right, see? I mean, I knew it was the Megalodon all along. I don't know, man, though. To be fair, we're joking and everything, but at the same time, the sea is a deep and curious place, so who knows what's going on. I don't know about monsters or big fish taking down planes, but perhaps boats were gobbled up by something lurking under the waters. It's fun to say things like that, doesn't it? But of course, I don't necessarily believe that there's a big kraken or beast under the water there. I don't know, though. Maybe there is. Coming in at number 2, we have the Sargasso seaweed. In the heart of the Bermuda Triangle is the mysterious Sargasso Sea. The sea has no shores and is bordered by other oceans. Now, the sea is very strange for a number of reasons. It's oddly warm and it's covered in a very dense seaweed. Oddly, the sea has been the location where a large number of boats have disappeared and re-emerged crewless some days later. This is what happened to the vessel Rosalie in 1840, as reported in the Times newspaper. The ship sailed through the sea and was lost in August. Now, by November, she'd been found adrift with all of her cargo aboard and no visible signs of damage. The only thing was, though, she was covered in seaweed and the entirety of her crew had disappeared, never to be seen again. Finally, coming into number 1, we have, is the Bermuda Triangle a glitch in the Matrix? Maybe. At the beginning of 2019, Redditor Paul5424 wrote in Reddit Shower Thoughts, "If we all live in a simulation, the Bermuda Triangle is probably some kind of glitch spot." Now, this comment received over 4,000 upvotes, and it's funny, sure, but like, actually, maybe accurate. Elon Musk thinks that we're living in a computer simulation. In fact, I do believe that he said there is only a 1 in billions chance that we're not living in a simulation, so I think he's pretty convinced. If we are living in a simulation like the Matrix, then surely there'd be glitches for sure. Maybe the reason we can't explain the Bermuda Triangle is because there is no explanation that makes sense to us. Planes and boats have simply been deleted.
Starting off this countdown, we have the center of the Earth. This urban legend surrounds the concept that the Bermuda Triangle is actually a way to get to the center of the Earth, as seen in the 2012 film Journey to the Center of the Earth 2, starring The Rock, Josh Hutcherson, and Vanessa Hudgens. In this movie, the crew board an airplane and fly directly through the Bermuda Triangle. This is when they were greeted by a massive cyclone, and after flying directly into it, they are transported to an island, where big creatures are small and small creatures are big. Now, this legend isn't quite the same as the movie, but it does believe that all the people that have mysteriously disappeared were swallowed up by a storm. But it isn't always stormy there. So, legend states that a storm only begins once you enter a specific region, kind of like setting off a tripwire. From there, the ocean will open up wide and suck you right down to the middle of the Earth. This is what people use to explain why the boats or airplanes of the travelers are never found. It's because they're swallowed whole. Coming in at number 9, we have the glitch. This urban legend surrounds the idea that the Bermuda Triangle is just one big glitch. It suggests that those who are traveling through it will cause our life simulation to glitch and end up erasing them completely from history. Others believe that it will cause a glitch and teleport them sometime in the future or in the past. So they're said that they're still alive, but just now in a different time frame. Moving on to number 8, we have the ghost ship. Legend states that on December 5th, 1880, a ship known as the Ellen Austin left Liverpool and headed towards New York. While on their trip, the crew spotted a creepy ship floating in fog. There were no signs of a captain or crew on the ship, so some of the crew decided to hop on board to loot it. It was said to be lifeless. no signs of it being ransacked or attacked. However, while the crew was on board, a storm struck and separated the Ellen Austin from the ship for 2 whole days. When the storm stopped, the ghost ship was nowhere to be found. A day later, they found the ship. However, all the crew members on board had vanished. There was no trace of them. As a result, the urban legend rose of a cursed ghost ship that lurks the waters near the Bermuda Triangle. Those who hop on board will mysteriously disappear without a trace. In our 7th spot, we have the Mer People. Man, when I was younger, I wanted to be a mermaid so bad, and I think that's thanks to the movie Aquamarine or the show H2O, Just Add Water. Like, I remember swimming in, like, lakes and swimming pool and, like, having my legs together and being like, look, I'm a mermaid! Yeah. Kind of upset that that didn't happen. But there are people out there that believe that the Bermuda Triangle is home to multiple mer people. I mean, we have seen mermaids mentioned all throughout history. In Greek and Roman mythology, they talked about mermaids and mermen, with like Poseidon and Neptune being the gods of the sea. So people believe that they're really out there and can control the Bermuda waters, meaning if you get too close to them, they can create a powerful storm to wash you overboard. Legend states that if you see one of these mer creatures, then you will die from a sudden, terrible storm. This is their way of making sure that people don't find out that they are real. In our 6th spot, we have the sea monsters. Legend goes that a giant sea monster lurks the depths of the Bermuda Triangle. Those who get too close to it will be snatched and pulled under and eaten by this creature. I mean, there is evidence of scary sea creatures. Like, scientists have discovered giant squids that live near the Bermuda Triangle, but others believe that it's a much deadlier creature. Legend goes that the monster is apparently 4 times the size of the Eiffel Tower. It's extremely strong, making it easy to snap planes in mid-air, and it has strong, powerful teeth. This creature has been given the name the Bermuda Beast. Bermuda researcher Rob Simon believes there is indeed a creature lurking in Bermuda waters. He says, and I quote, "Maybe its food source is contained there. It could explain some of the ships that were mysteriously lost." Now, in the diaries of the explorer Christopher Columbus, he wrote about seeing an underwater fire-breathing beast while traveling in the area, making people truly convinced that the legend of the Bermuda Beast is real. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the wormhole. Legend states that the Bermuda Triangle is actually a wormhole that allows for time travel. Let me explain. So this legend began when apparently a man was flying above the Bermuda Triangle when he was suddenly trapped in a storm. His plane went out of control and he fainted. When he woke up, he was 2,000 miles from the triangle, but it said he only traveled for a half hour. It is said that that is impossible for a chartered plane, unless he was traveling at thousands of miles per hour. So it was believed that he was teleported to that location. Another version of the legend states that one day 3 ships were traveling when they entered a mysterious fog. When the 3 ships emerged through the fog, there were only 2 ships, and then one of the ships was really far ahead. Apparently, the crew members of that ship claimed that they went back in time several years. Then they saw the same cloud, went through it, and were transported back to current day. Pretty spooky. Coming in at number 4, we have the lost city of Atlantis. Over the years, the urban legend that the lost city of Atlantis is located deep under the waters of the Bermuda Triangle has been circulating around the internet. Legend states that the city of Atlantis sunk to the bottom of the ocean and that the great Atlantean fire crystals that provided power and energy for the city are still present and working. Their energy is so powerful that it can interfere with compasses and electronic devices. That's supposedly why when planes fly over, they have numerous technical difficulties. In 1945, 5 aircrafts were flying over the Bermuda Triangle when the lieutenant's compass failed. As they got close to the triangle, all their communication was cut out and they were never seen again. And in 1948, a commercial flight vanished. Their radio completely cut out and then they were never seen again. So could it be that the city of Atlantis is messing with these signals? In our 3rd spot, we have the electronic fog. According to a man named Rob McGregor, he is a survivor of the electronic fog that threatens the Bermuda Triangle. Legend goes that on December 4th, 1970, he was flying over the triangle when he was met with this weird tunnel-shaped vortex. He entered it and apparently his wings sounded like they were scraping along metal. All of the electronic and magnetic navigational instruments malfunctioned. When he looked up, all he saw was a dull gray fog. Also, there was a strange cloud forming behind the airplane. Now, they were only in the clouds for a couple of minutes, but claimed that they traveled for 40 minutes. When they got out of the fog, they were over Miami Beach, a flight that should have taken them 75 minutes. He then believes that this weird fog is what caused the other planes and boats and passengers to disappear. Coming in at number 2, we have the lost souls. This legend states that the Bermuda Triangle is haunted by the souls of people that have died in the area. Apparently, several years ago, when ships were traveling along the triangle, slaves and other passengers were tossed overboard and left to drown. In the 18th century, one captain was said to have defrauded insurance companies by tossing some of his crew members off the boat, and then he would cash in on the claim for them. From there, it's said that these souls are still present and are trying to get revenge on those attempting to pass. Other people that have passed the area have claimed to see silhouettes of individuals floating on water in the distance for them to just suddenly disappear. They believe that these souls want you to suffer the same fate as they did. So those flying will crash into the waters and drown, and those sailing will be tipped over. And in our number 1 spot, we have the aliens. Of course, whenever there's something mysterious or unexplainable that happens, people just automatically blame aliens. There are so many legends out there on aliens being associated with the Bermuda Triangle. The first one being that aliens have a secret underwater base in the Bermuda waters. Only extraterrestrials are allowed in this area, others are killed by some invisible force that they have created. Other people believe that the triangle is like a portal, and that the aliens use it to travel to and from our planet. Now, what's weird is that apparently Christopher Columbus wrote in his diaries of encountering a UFO. Let me start by saying that his logs and diaries are not actually the originals. His were lost. The logs we do have are a copy that was written by a man named Bartolome de la Casa. So we don't really know how valid his writings are. But apparently Columbus wrote about seeing a bright disc-shaped object rise out of the ocean and fly into the sky. He also said that he would see stars spinning above them, and a candlelight light would float up and down around them. So people think that he saw a UFO.